On April 2nd, 2017, two very different people meet for the first time at a Super Smash Bros. Melee tournament. IBDW is a future top 10 player. In addition to competing at tournaments in his home state of New York, he's traveled cross country to Virginia, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and now Ohio. Later on, he will quit law school and pursue Melee full-time, making him a textbook example of someone who truly commits himself to the game. Hanky Panky is a former top 100 player. He has not met out-of-state activity requirements since 2014, the last and only time he ever made the list. It's not a matter of skill, it's merely that he doesn't care to attend tournaments outside of Columbus, Ohio, where he lives. But something very unusual is about to happen to Hanky. He is about to lose on his own turf.
Oh my god.
And now, holy moly, he just opened up the can of whoop ass on Hanky Panky.
I've honestly never seen anyone beat Hanky that bad, like in my entire life.
Of course, what really mattered to Hanky was the fact that he finished just high enough in the tournament to leave with $250 stuffed in an envelope. This isn't a disappointment, it's exactly what Hanky came for, and it is just one chapter of the most successful Melee career that nobody has ever heard of.
Tyler Hankins initially got into Melee through Break the Targets. In high school, he casually watched a few MLG videos, but he's not really into competing. He does find something else he's really into: accounting. After taking one accounting class in high school, he's hooked. Tyler graduates and enrolls at Ohio State University as an accounting major, eventually joining an honors program for accounting that allows only 30 students. Tyler loves accounting. He loves it so much that he starts giving weekly presentations on accounting strategies to Cardinal Health, a billion-dollar pharmaceutical. There are few things that Tyler loves as much as accounting, but he discovers a close second after finding students playing Melee in a residence hall. He asks them if they live there, and it turns out none of them do. It's just the only dorm that has a community CRT. They start holding regular Smash Fests together and occasionally host small tournaments that draw out competitors from Ohio's more official scene. For the most part, Tyler doesn't care about these tournaments. Among his small crew, he is easily the best player, a big fish who is very aware of his small pond and has zero interest in leaving it. In the fall of 2011, Tyler's peaceful Smash life comes crashing down at the hands of an ambitious pre-med freshman called Prince Abu. And no matter what Tyler does, he just can't beat Prince Abu. Melee's skill curve is notoriously unforgiving. Winning a single tournament set often takes new players weeks, even months of dedicated practice to accomplish for the first time. Prince Abu is obsessed with improving at Melee and reminds Tyler of it every single time they play. He brags between games, not just about himself, but about his amazing Michigan friends, never letting up on how much better they are than either of them. He beats Tyler over and over and over again, and each time he confidently explains what Armada would have done there instead. Tyler wants nothing more than to make it stop. He even starts analyzing Armada videos every week to figure out what Prince Abu is talking about. Unfortunately, he runs into another problem. Almost all the videos of Armada's Peach against Jigglypuff are ones where he loses. As a result, it never gets any better. Prince Abu loves playing Tyler. He starts publicly referring to their practice sessions as Smash Time with Hanky Panky, so much so to the point where other Ohio State Smashers start calling Tyler Hanky Panky. This goes on for an entire school year, week after week, before Prince Abu comes up with a brilliant idea. He will somehow drag his new best friend back to his home state for a Melee tournament, the Big House 2.
The Big House 2 was one of the biggest Melee events of 2012. Most of the attendees will recognize two of its competitors, Mango and Hungrybox, as mini celebrities of the scene. Hanky Panky will not. He only knows those people who have played Armada. One of Hanky's first notable matches comes in the first stage of pools against Westballs. Earlier in the same year, Westballs had nearly defeated Dr. Peepee. then a contender for being the best player in the United States. Westballs is Hanky's first ever test against a world-class Melee player. However, Westballs doesn't know who Hanky Panky is. He outright disrespects Hanky, going Captain Falcon, just having fun in pools and maybe expecting to get some combo video footage for later. But Hanky Panky doesn't know who Westballs is. The act of disrespect is lost on him because he doesn't even know that Westballs plays Falco. A top 20 player has just lost to a random, and nobody cares. It's not because no one saw it. The video has thousands of views today. Maybe nobody cared because it happened in round 1 pools, or maybe because it involved Westballs, a notoriously upset-prone player. It is a set that falls on deaf ears. Hanky finishes his round 1 pool undefeated and continues his hot streak into round 2.
Especially at any percent.
Ooh, Hanky's trying to do a wave land into down smash, and he just gets that forward air. Fast and brutal. Rising up air, jabbing him out of his jump, and sniping him with that turnip.
It's here where Hanky first recognizes one of his opponents as Chillin' Dude, a former top 10 player from the MLG days. After losing a nail-biter of a set, Hanky makes top 32. His training partner isn't so fortunate. Prince Abu hits a Phantom Rest, last stock, on a qualifier set against Matt.Zeb. Hanky's top 32 match is against Duck, who he recognizes as Prince Abu's really good friend. But what he doesn't know is that Duck is arguably the best player in Michigan and on his way to becoming a premier Samus main. Their set ends up being a grueling Peach Samus slog on a side setup away from everyone else. No one, not even their mutual friend Prince Abu, can bring themselves to watch the whole set. Hanky quietly comes out on top. He walks up to the main stage to play on stream against Scar, a player recognized by everyone in the venue, except Hanky. 15 seconds into game 1, and Hanky already makes a mistake. Scar grabs Hanky and down throws him. Hanky DIs down and away to avoid getting comboed by multiple hits, but instead, he gets kneed. With a well-timed float, Hanky saves his stock and doesn't die from the knee. However, he has a new problem. He has to make it back to the stage. Scar recognizes this and throws out an approaching back air. However, when Scar goes to grab Battlefield's right ledge, Captain Falcon doesn't grab it. It's an issue with Battlefield's ledges that sometimes happens, and right now, it costs Scar a lot. Hanky takes advantage of his lead and stays ahead for the rest of the game. And to close it, Hanky, a player nobody has ever heard of, does this to the self-described most electrifying man in Melee. Game 2 is much closer. Hanky barely stays ahead, but on a critical last stock exchange, he's pushed near the corner of the stage. Scar whiffs an up air, but retreats to the edge of the platform right above where Hanky lands, reading his jump with a stomp. Hanky does something every single Peach player does when they panic. He tries to hold down. He does it even though he's in the air, even though he's already in the middle of a neutral air animation. But Hanky isn't actually holding down. In a panic, he accidentally holds in an entirely different direction. In the future, players will recognize this as slide-off DI, a modern defensive technique that is integral to getting out of combos. Right now, Hanky doesn't know what he just did, but it works. After the set, Scar immediately asks Hanky if the forward air was intentional. Hanky tells him it was, but he's lying. In fact, he doesn't even know what forward air Scar is talking about. Beating Westballs, Duck, and Scar would be extremely impressive for any player, let alone someone at their first out-of-state tournament. However, against Mango, the tournament's eventual champion, and SFAT, her perennial top 15 player, Hanky's luck would run out. He finishes just out of the prize pot, though he gains several fans in the process. By all means, it should be the start of a very promising career. But it isn't, because while Hanky appreciates his newfound fame, he also recognizes it for what it is: small popularity in an obscure social circle. Nothing fundamentally changes Hanky's view of Melee. Not the scene's return to EVO, not the creation of an official Melee Top 100, not even the premiere of a documentary dedicated to the Melee scene. It's just a hobby that he enjoys sharing with a few friends. Nothing more, nothing less. Hanky's got another year of his honors program left to complete. While he's set to graduate summa cum laude, if Hanky doesn't get an accounting job soon, it'll all be for nothing. As the rigor of his coursework starts to take a toll on him, Hanky begins to wonder if even his tiny investment in Melee is threatening his actual career. Slowly but surely, he's starting to think about all the time he spent playing Melee with Prince Abu, and how he could have just gone to the Ohio State Accounting Club instead. After all, a week and a half after the Big House 2, Hanky still finished second to Prince Abu. Even worse for him, he was at a tournament literally named from Prince Abu's favorite catchphrase, Smash Time, the return of Hanky Panky. In early 2014, Hanky gets an accounting job through a Smash's girlfriend, and it's everything he wanted. Every now and then, he enters tournaments in the Midwest and does pretty well, taking sets from Kalamazoo, Hugs, Shootout, and Zoo in the process. He even accomplishes the unthinkable a year later. He finally wins a tournament over Prince Abu, the only thing he may have won at anywhere as much as a full-time accounting job. Once the summer starts, they go their separate ways, never playing against each other in tournament again. Prince Abu would somehow find the time to continue competing in Melee, on top of enrolling in med school. He travels across the globe to compete at Melee tournaments, and ends up a top 40 player, at one point finishing in 9th place at an event 10 times bigger than the Big House 2. He maintains an exhausting, but successful, balance between his Melee ambitions and his professional development. Hanky will achieve a similar balance, but he will do it in a very different way. He would disappear from the national scene, yet begin entering more local tournaments than he ever did in college. Perhaps most impressively, he will make an ungodly amount of money from winning these tournaments. Nobody has any idea just how abnormally good Hanky is at making money off Melee.
Between 2015 and 2017, Hanky Panky will make $24,000 in Smash tournament winnings. Like a good accountant, he files it as a separate form of income to the IRS.
Good stuff to Hanky with a reverse 3-0.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see Cal come back through losers and show us what we saw game 1, though.
Yeah.
Because he showed a lot of potential that game. Yeah, I feel like it'll happen.
All right.
Much of the money is typically spent at a nearby Raising Cane's, which he visits so often that all of the staff know him by name and have an order named after him. Unbelievably, Hanky isn't just beating up bad players. Hanky comes out to local events to defeat established or up-and-coming top 100 players, from The Real Thing,
And that's nice Columbus, Ohio, Hanky Panky,
to Cal,
I wanted Cal to win so bad.
to Free Palestine, to even Ohio's most recognizable player, Dreffin. My God, does he beat Dreffin.
Doesn't get punished too hard just as I say that. Let's see all this stock.
Could this be it? No, yes, no.
We're seeing the Zelda.
Yeah, it's it. Wow. That float height was just above that dash attack. And I think reverse nair. Yo, mini pop off. Dreffin relents with the handshake. Hanky Panky advances. We're at that Luigi controller up, Dreffin. You did a good job.
Hanky, a professional accountant, loses track of the set count after winning 40 sets in a row. To anybody outside the Midwest, their lopsided head-to-head during this time period makes no sense. Dreffin is a top player, and Hanky Panky is some random guy. It is a mind-boggling cycle, where every week Hanky defeats him, studies their sets, and gleefully returns, like a lion studying a helpless zebra before it pounces. Hanky's reign of terror both inspires and infuriates his friends, because they all care so much about Melee, and Hanky only cares about Raising Cane's. Instead of attending the Big House 5 with everyone else in his region, Hanky goes to a Project M regional with a $1,000 pop bonus.
Hanky Panky running over to play his Melee match, looks like.
That man is like, didn't even seem excited about that.
A year later, Druffin starts a petition begging Hanky to attend the Big House 6 and gains 127 supporters, only for Hanky to not attend, because he knows he won't make any money from it.
For so long. Like, I'm happy for him, good friend of mine, but I want to see something new.
He just doesn't go to tournaments that he loses, so like...
He doesn't. He only goes if he's fairly sure he's going to win. So
he only goes to profitable events.
Hanky Panky's local reign breaks Melee statistics, regularly frustrating algorithm developers seeking to create so-called objective ranking systems for Melee players. At one point, he was named the winningest Melee player of all time, based on a database containing more than 500,000 sets. Another attempt used Glicko2, a rating system supposedly able to accurately weigh the relative value of beating players of different strengths. Even Glicko could not handle Hanky's sheer volume of victories. It crowned the 5 Glicko gods of Melee: Armada, Hungrybox, Mango, Mutaking, and Hanky Panky, a big fish who is very aware of his small pond and has zero interest in leaving it.
The story of Hanky Panky is not a what if. He had a great breakout tournament, consistently did well at the few out-of-state events he went to, and then deliberately chose to keep Melee as a side hustle. He is a bizarre outlier in a scene that romanticizes itself and has so much self-importance.
Alright, good stuff to Hanky Panky, winner of
winning the
Super
biggest
Smash Stadium.
Yeah, the biggest game arena of all time.
I mean, it was supposed to be
Yeah, it was
big.
supposed to be.
The truth is that for all its supposed structure, Melee is a game of chaos, where even its most dedicated players frequently have little control over their outcomes. As Smashers, we desperately want Melee to be so much more. We obsess over rankings, we share legends about our favorite players, and we create narratives around our shared love for the game, as if to tell ourselves that it means something. But at the end of the day, Melee is a brutal grind that most of us only have so much time to commit ourselves to. Even if you're a full-time Melee professional, it is a game where sometimes you will lose to someone who cannot explain how they just beat you. No player has ever accepted the inherent absurdity of Melee like Tyler Hankins. He is the antithesis of a top player, someone who never glorified their hobby, the most powerful competitor who didn't care about competing. From the very beginning, he saw Melee for what it really is,